What is something you've always wanted to ask a woman, but daren't? I have a question, forgive me if this is offensive. Or, if it sounds insincere. When I was a young teenager, female classmates with big or bigger was like wow. How lucky. That must be cool. In my 20s, after starting to experience health problems myself, I had a lot time to reflect on a lot of things. And what I've wondered is it even possible for a female with big or bigger not have it affect her in a negative way? Like, looks, envy, back problems, etc.? This might be a really stupid question, but forgive me. I'm just thinking of them as a type of tissue that can weigh a lot and can have negative physical and social ramifications. Just wondering if it's just some women with big who go through this, or, again my stupid question, is it all women who have bigger or big? I'm a 34G and yes, there is a point where it's not fun. I have had back problems for years and went to high school in a place where bigger were definitely not the norm, and I wound up having several situations with fellow students ranging from awkward to stalker behavior starting when I was 14. Past DD, you can no longer find bras that you can comfortably wear under $60 per bra and can rarely find them in store to where you can try them on, and it can cost at least $80 for a swimsuit you can been seen in public in. Don't get me wrong, there are certainly upsides, but they just aren't normally for me. Mostly it's just break the bank, and my trust in human decency. I think it really depends on your environment and the people you hang out with. Like, I have much bigger than all my friends, but body image isn't a big thing for us, so I've never had the impression that anyone was jealous. I also live in South Africa where women tend to have big chests, so it's not a big deal socially with strangers either. That being said, I have had negative comments from my mom about not dressing modestly enough, but that's because you just have to deal with cleavage no matter what you wear, and she doesn't understand that. I also don't have a bra size that's going to give me medical issues. It's mostly a bit inconvenient because you can't wear a lot of the clothes that look good on other girls with smaller. So to answer your question, most ladies with above a DD will have at least some negative stuff to deal with, but it's not always that bad and you get used to them. At first, no. It was almost distressing to grow them, and I'm not trans/gender dysphoric, it was just a weird thing to happen, and puberty is tough. When I would hug male relatives or friends as a teen, I felt hyper aware of them and it made me uncomfortable. Now I like having them. Sometimes when I'm alone I find I'm just sort of holding them. And I like how they look. I will add the disclaimer though that mine are not big enough to cause back pain or get in the way much. I've always heard that perfumed feminine hygiene products are universally hated by womankind. True or false? Edit. Thank you everybody for the responses. It's been very informative. I know this is only a small sample size when it comes to inquiry, but seeing that at least the majority of this small number despises scented products has made me aware of what not to buy whenever, if ever, the time comes for me to purchase some for a woman in my life. I absolutely hate them, and my girlfriends agree. That scent mixing with the smell of blood is the most terrible thing in the world. Exactly what I was going to say. It's like it amplifies the smell and it's bizarre and off-putting. I found there's no real smell with unscented, but the smell of a used scented pad makes my skin crawl. Since you roughly know when you're expecting your period, do you ever use preemptive tampons or pads? Or does the period start before you use products? Edit. Thanks for all the answers. Generally sounds like everyone has different opinions depending on product and personal experience, but a common theme is preemptive tampons are bad. Also learned about the red blush, so that's cool. So usually the first sign is a blush of red when you wipe. At that point, you're not yet into your undies, but you're gonna soon. That's all the heads up I usually need. Exactly the same thing for me. Either that or a spot of red in the toilet, and then I'm like me and have about 10 to 20 minutes before I TBEGINS. Personally, I just keep pads on me when I go out when I know it will be happening soon. A good rule of thumb is to just have them available always, because maybe a homegirl needs one but isn't prepared, also. And I will say that men who aren't afraid of having pads/tampons or buying them is honestly really attractive, because we aren't being essentially shamed for something we can't help. Most times, it feels like we are, or at least I am, being shamed by men when they get all grossed out, crack jokes constantly, or make a big deal out of buying them. I'm sure some women somewhere who track their cycles well can, but for many people you'd be right that the period starts before we use any pads/tampons. When I was younger I could feel when it started because I'd get a back stomach cramp. Sometimes you feel it coming out but get to a bathroom before it hits your underwear. Many women are on more permanent birth control so they don't get it at all, or it's so small they might not even use any pads/tampons. BC user here. I still absolutely need menstrual hygiene products. Recently bought some underwear from Thinx and 100% recommend if you can spend the money, but thanks to the BC, it's only a 3-day period and I can even name the day of the week and around the time of day that it starts. It's super helpful when determining how prepared I need to be. Without meaning to flex or anything, what's the best way to turn a woman down if you're not interested? I'm sure that it varies from person to person, but it really sucks being made out to be the villain when really I just wasn't into you. A simple, I'm flattered that you feel that way, but I'm not looking for anything romantic right now / didn't feel a spark between us. Works just fine. A normal, sensible person will accept that. I would also add not to go with, not looking for anything romantic right now, if you actually are, just not with her. I would much rather be told that you don't feel a spark than that you don't want a relationship only to see you with someone else a month later. Basically, just be honest but kind. I check the photo, read the profile, then check the photo again. What I'm looking for in photos is someone who looks like they're having a good time. Someone happy. I don't need crazy adventure photos unless that's a huge part of your life. If I were to imagine hanging out with the person in the photo, what would that be like? In the profile I'm looking for a little of what things you enjoy and how you occupy your time and a little of your values. Someone whose activities are compatible with mine means nothing to me if I know nothing about your values. So if you love going to concerts and trying out new restaurants, that's worth mentioning. If you also would go to your grave defending Donald Trump, also worth mentioning. If you love running and reading, mention that. If Jesus is your life and you want to spread the gospel, also mention that. Once you're in your 30s you might want to mention if you're interested in having kids or not. In your 20s I think you can generally leave that info out unless it's really important to you. If you're 20, probably stating that you want to make babies is a little intense. I went to the gym with my boyfriend today and I saw this huge, tall meathead guy without a mask on. My gym really enforces the mask policy, so I asked the front desk guy if that dude has some medical note that exempts him from having to wear a mask. Front desk guy confirmed it and thanked me for asking first. While my boyfriend is in the washroom, meathead guy comes up to me and says to me, "Maybe next time don't complain about me when there's a sign at the front desk that says medical exemptions are allowed here. So you better watch yourself." I had been working out next to my man for 30 minutes and this dude purposely waited until I was alone to confront and intimidate me for complaining about him when all I did was inquire about it. I'm sure this situation might have also happened if I was a male, but the point is that for women, many common day-to-day actions can be viewed as a potentially threatening. Even shit as simple as walking down the street alone, sitting in our car looking at our phones, or going for a jog. Potential threats are just a constant presence in our lives. The man's a predatory coward. I see them all the time working at my supermarket. They'll seek a 16 to 17-year-old female cashier to try and take their shit out on, but as soon as I or any other male worker, or even a more fearless female worker steps in, they're all polite and doesn't understand why there's a problem, there's no problem, etc. etc. They're cowards/bullies seeking people they perceive as weaker than themselves to confront so they can feel powerful. Not that I recommend you should do this, but if you had raised your voice back at him he would likely have crumpled. But the smarter thing to do was conflict avoidance and seek protection from trusted people such as your boyfriend. Sometimes they can react violently in a last-ditch effort to preserve their reputation. If your boyfriend had been the one to ask, he wouldn't have ever confronted him, which is evidenced by meatheads waiting for him to leave you unattended.